Hi guys, in the last video we have seen how Baga was able to log into Workday without providing his credentials using SML authentication. So in this video we are going to talk about OAuth, and in this scenario we have same user Baga who wants to log into Workday, but this time he is using his mobile phone. So let's start. So today we are going to talk about OAuth, which is Open Authorization. We have the same user, same app and same IDP. Username is Baga, app we have is Workday, and IDP is Entra ID. This time the only difference in our scenario is the user is using his mobile phone and Workday is mobile app this time. So user Baga has opened the application Workday and he is redirected to Entra ID page for authentication. He provides his credentials plus MFA, and what happens next is Entra ID will be providing one authorization code to Workday via the app or the user. Now, the same authentication code will be provided towards to Entra ID by Workday. Okay, this authorization code and this authorization code will be same. So when Workday provides authorization code to Entra ID, it basically asks, here's the code, please give me the token. And once Entra ID confirms this authorization code, it provides access token, refresh token, and ID token. Now the question is, will Entra ID always provide these three tokens every time Workday asks for token? So the answer is no. I mean, it depends. So access token will always be there, but refresh token, it depends on if it is allowed or not. So refresh tokens are issued when the client is trusted to store the refresh tokens securely, and it also depends on the policies or the OAuth type, the type of OAuth flow you're using, and if offline access is allowed or not. And ID token will be issued to Workday only if Workday has requested to provide the ID token. Okay, so we will take a look at how these tokens look like. Okay, what it contains, what parameters it has. Now we will take a look at one thing which happens here, and it is called as code interception attack. So when Entra ID provides this authorization code to Workday, and what if there's one attacker here? Let's say, okay, this is the attacker. Okay, this is the attacker. So if authorization code is stolen by this attacker, he can access the requested resources on behalf of application, and he can see the available data. So to avoid this or to prevent this, we have something called as PKCE, which is pronounced as PIXI, which stands for proof key for code exchange. We will take a look at how it works in the later part of this video. First, we will understand what this token, access token, refresh token, and ID token means. Okay, so here are the basic definitions. Access token is the key that lets Workday access APIs on Baga's behalf. Refresh token is the membership card to renew access without logging in again. So what if Baga wants to use Workday app for 24 hours and access token has the expiry of 1 hour, let's say. So Baga will not need to log in again and again and ask for the access token. Refresh token will be saved and used on behalf of Baga. ID token is the Baga's digital ID card proving who he is, and scope is the list of permissions Baga gives Workday. You will get an idea about these things in later part of this video. Now we will talk about OAuth. Okay, before that there are some entities, so we will understand them. First is the resource owner, which is the user. In our case it is Baga. Next is the client, which is Workday mobile app. In our case, authorization server is the Entra ID, the one who verifies user Baga. Resource server is where your actual data lives. Okay, now this is the diagram. Okay, Workday, authorization server, and resource server. Now in our case, authorization server has provided access token to Workday, right? Now what happens, Workday will provide this access token to resource server, and resource server will validate the access. Okay, resource server will validate the access to the requested resources. If everything looks good, access will be provided to the app. Okay, so the access token does not say who the user is. Okay, so it does not know who Baga is. It only tells what Workday is allowed to access, and that is OAuth, that is open authorization. And this is authorization. OAuth is about authorization and not authentication. So the question is, how does Workday know who the user is, or if OAuth is only about authorization and not identity? So that is where OIDC, that is where OIDC comes into play, which stands for OpenID Connect, that adds identity on top of OAuth. Okay, now the flow you have understood, right? Workday has received access token from authorization server. It provides the same access token to resource server. It validates access to the requested resource and provides the access. But there are some questions which can be asked in interviews, or that might create confusion. So let's address them. Okay, so the first question is how authorization server and resource server communicate. So they do not communicate with each other. The trust is established upfront, and tokens act as verifiable messages. Okay, now next question is, how does resource server validates access tokens? So this resource server validates access tokens, right? So it verifies token signature using authorization server's public key. It validates issuer, audience, scope, expiry. So we will take a look at how these tokens look like, so there you will get better idea about this thing. And this is my favorite question, which is why resource server does not act like authorization server. Because the work resource server is having is to authorize if that user or the app is having that access or not. It is only authorizing, right? But resource servers are not built to handle identities. They Authorization without identity context is dangerous, and the work of resource server is only to protect the resources. But at the authorization server, first authentication will occur and then authorization. Right. Now we will take a look at how this PKCE works. So the first step which occurred here was Workday sent a request to Enter ID for authorization, and with that request there was something called as code verifier and code challenge. So with that authorization request, these two parameters are sent towards Enter ID. Then Workday redirects Baga to Enter ID. It goes to Enter ID. It authenticates himself by providing MFA and credentials. Then Enter ID authenticates Baga. If a login is successful, authorization code is returned towards Workday. This step. Okay, authorization code is given by Enter ID to Workday. Then Workday receives authorization code. Now Workday backend exchange authorization code for tokens, right? So here you can see when Baga's browser or the app was redirected to Workday, it contained this authentication code from Enter ID. Now Workday has received that code, so Workday will exchange this code for tokens. At this step, when Workday sent authorization code to Enter ID, this is how it looks like. It contains the code verifier, and it redirects. So it has okay, now Enter ID validates the code verifier and matches the code challenge and authorization. It also validates if authorization code is valid and not expired. Okay, so depending on the request a Workday has made, it provides access token, ID token, and refresh token. Okay, so okay, and once these tokens are received by Workday, it can now call Workday API using access token. It can identify Baga using ID token. It can use refresh token to get new access token when expired, right? Now let's understand and take a look at how this request and tokens looks like. So this is authorization request which was sent from Workday to Enter ID, the first step. So when this request is sent, it sends this code challenge and code challenge method. It also contains scope, which is OpenID profile email API. So here OpenID is important. Whenever the scope contains OpenID, then Enter ID will return the access id token. Okay, if OpenID is requested, it will return id token, because Workday wants to know who the user is. Okay, yes. Now next is authorization code, which was sent from intro id to Workday. Okay, so this is just the authorization code. Next, Workday will ask for the token to enter ID. So that request looks like this. It contains the code which was given by enter ID to Workday, and it also contains the code verifier. Okay. At this stage, enter ID will validate if this is the same Workday, it is the same app or not, where I need to provide the access token or various tokens. Now, access token contains these parameters: issuer, audience, expiry, scope, subject, and app ID. We have already talked about scope. What is scope? The list of permissions Baga gives Workday. So Baga has only given read and write permission to Workday, right? Here you can see JWT, right? JWT stands for JSON Web Token, which is the format for the access token. We will not talk about it much, okay? So yeah, this is how access token looks like. ID token, it will be given by enter ID to Workday only if the scope contains OpenID, right? So this contains issuer, audience, expiry, subject, name, and email. So here the user's identity is there. So you might be wondering, what is subject, right? So subject is something unique to this user. So can we identify who the user is from the subjects? So technically yes, but practically no. Okay. Next is the refresh token. Token looks like this, and scope, which is readable format, it looks like OpenID, profile, email, API, something like this. Okay, so this was all about open authorization. Let me know in the comment section if I have missed something, or I should have focused more on specific part. And in the next video, I will be talking about the difference between SML, OAuth, and OIDC. And if we have SML, then why do we need OAuth? And yeah, if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more such tech related content.